everyone else is asleep. And there's that kind of quality in the middle of the night as well of attentiveness, of when the whole world is sort of stilled and all kinds of ideas and images occur to you. And it's a very sort of ambivalent moment. You know, things can be very creative in the middle of the night and can be also terribly negative in the middle of the night. So it's that idea of really of paying attention to the seen and the unseen. It's obviously hundreds of pots, hundreds and hundreds of pots in it, over 600. And the idea of them is that you see something and you pay attention to that, and then you lose that pot amongst the next 50 or 60 or 100 of them, and then catch sight of another pot which has an echo. So it's that thing about about focusing and not focusing. Had a very severe plan, which I knew wasn't right. So everything was put out in this severe way, and then I could just find the spaces by moving those pots around. It's all about moving between them. You know, that space between them, you're drawn between them and round them. And as you're drawn round them, you realise that some things are held clearly. You know, you can see them. And some things are in shadows, and some things are behind opaque glass, so that they are completely blurred, completely shadowy. And all these objects are held in different places within this small building, this space. So, what's it about? What it is, it's just a way of slowing you down. It's a way of slowing you down and making you... It's a way of slowing you down and making you look and think and walk around objects. That's all it is. Yeah, but that's enough. You know, that's not a bad thing to want to do with objects. And it's called 1,000 hours. I mean, it's 1,000 objects. It's taken way over 1,000 hours to make, actually, in reality. Way, way, way over.
What do they do out there, these shouty men?
They're full-time shouty men. They are just their maleness allows them to occupy as much space as they want, mostly through shouting.
I'd seen his kind of individual pots in various places, and then it was shortly after he started to install them all together that I took more notice, and he'd put a very long one, which I thought was particularly beautiful. And then I was talking to one of my colleagues who had actually worked with him a bit before, and she'd written an introduction for a catalogue, and I said, well, let's go and see him. And so she gave him a call, and she said, well, his studio's just up in Tulse Hill. We can go one morning. And it was really strange because normally it doesn't happen this way. But we were sitting there in his studio, and after we'd been talking for about 20 minutes, I mean, Edmund didn't know I was going to do this, and my colleague didn't know I was going to do this, and suddenly I opened my mouth and said, well, would you like to do an exhibition with me? I mean, it's really quite unusual, but it just felt right. The whole thing felt right. And the funny thing was that as I was leaving that sort of initial meeting with him in the studio, he just mentioned, in his usual kind of humble way, oh, I've written this book, but I mean, it shouldn't get in the way of the exhibition because I think a few of my friends are going to buy it, so, you know, I mean, it's fine. I mean, in fact, I don't even know why I mentioned it.
Standing here with Edmund de Waal.
Edmund de Waal.
Author Edmund de Waal.
Whose book, The Hare with Amber Eyes, took the world by storm last year.
I'm Edmund de Waal.
The years I spent sort of travelling and researching and writing The Hare, of course it changed what I make, just as what I make changes the way I write. I mean, they are absolutely, they are completely connected. And at the heart of my book, I mean, the heart of The Hare is a story about what collecting means. What collecting means, what it is to hold a collection together, and what it is to contemplate objects, the dispersal of objects, the diaspora of objects, the falling away of their meaning. The more I think about those themes, I think the more nuanced these installations become.
Although they're separate activities, the writing and the making of the pots, the two things in Edmund's mind are connected, you know, and there are a lot of literary allusions in the titles of the works, bringing people's attention to the correspondence between the pots and literature, and particularly poetry, I think, you know. And some of the installations he's made for this exhibition echo the shape of the lines of text in poems. So you get these works where the shelves are of uneven lengths, just as the lines of poetry would be uneven lengths. In the book, you know, which all centres on this collection of Netscape figures that were hidden during the war in Vienna, and so a lot of the installations he places high up on the walls or around corners, as if they're hidden, like the Netscape were hidden, and so his installations are also hidden.
The Hare with Amber Eyes is absolutely a kind of love affair with tactility and what touch means, and it's essential, you know, the essential nature of being human and its relationship to touch. I mean, that's absolutely what a large part of what The Hare with Amber Eyes sort of deals with. And my installations aren't touched, but every object within them has been touched and actually holds touch within it. So you look at them and you see touch. You might not be picking them up and feeling the weight of them and feeling the edges and the whatever as much as I did when I was making them, but it's still there. It's just different. There was this sort of polemic argument early on in the 20th century about the status of pottery, that pottery was this link between sculpture and painting. I don't think that's relevant anymore. I mean, for me, it is sculpture. It is sculpture made up of ceramics. Sometimes that's very painterly. Sometimes they're objects which recede into the wall, you know, to become compositions. But mostly they are attempts to think about how you capture a bit of space and bring an object into focus or out of focus in that bit of space. I kind of do come to this place, sit over there behind me at my wheel and make things, and I love it, and everything else drops away at that point. You know, I do manage to keep all those things at bay.
So you don't ever miss a simpler life?
No.
Just...
No, I mean, I had a simpler life. I had a much simpler life when I was making things that no one liked, and I didn't like myself, you know, a long way away in bits of the Welsh borders 30 years ago, and I don't miss that at all. I'm now very, very happy trying to bring the things I want to make into existence. I'm learning, you know, and what I'm learning is that the kinds of things I want to do take lots of people and time and resources. You know, that's the reality. And so it's being very careful about the fact that everything always begins with a lump of clay and me sitting by myself making a pot.